Let me ask you a question. What do you usually do when you're angry? Do you scream, break things, fall into silence, and let it eat you alive? We've all been there. That burning sensation in your chest, the tightening of your jaw, the trembling hands, that primal force bubbling beneath your skin, ready to explode at the wrong word, the wrong look, the wrong moment. Anger is powerful, but we've been taught to fear it, suppress it, bury it deep. Stay calm, they say. Don't be so emotional, but no one teaches you how to use that fire. The truth is, anger is not your enemy. It's your weapon. It's energy, raw, untamed, explosive, but in the right hands, it's fuel. It's the fire that drives revolutions, that pushes people to break limits, that says enough and takes action. What if I told you that your anger could become the sharpest tool in your arsenal? What if you could stop it from destroying you and start letting it build you? In this speech, we're not going to talk about calming down or breathing techniques. No, this is not about suppressing your fire. It's about directing it. We'll go deep into how to transform your anger from emotional chaos into focused momentum that can make you unstoppable. Because listen, you've got dreams, you've got goals, but the path is brutal. There will be setbacks, rejections, disrespect, and if you don't know how to control your response, especially your anger, then you're letting the world control your destiny. Let me share something real with you. There was a man named Elijah, quiet guy, worked at a small startup. He was smart, driven, but always overlooked. One day, after delivering a massive project alone, his boss gave the credit to someone else, and that wasn't the first time. Elijah didn't shout, he didn't fight. He walked out of the office, sat in his car, and just breathed fire. That rage, that betrayal, he used it. He started his own company, worked 16-hour days fueled not by coffee, but by anger. And 2 years later, he bought out the same startup that once disrespected him. That's what happens when you channel your anger like a weapon. You see, anger is not destructive by nature. It's directionless. It's like lightning. Unfocused, it burns. Focused, it powers cities. This is what shadow mastery is all about. Harnessing the forces inside you that others fear. Taking what is chaotic and turning it into strategy. Making your demons work for you. Today, we're going to break down exactly how to do that. We'll explore the neuroscience of anger, emotional redirection, and concrete strategies to turn your fury into fuel. We'll go through real stories, real techniques, and walk you through how to stop wasting your energy on rage and start using it to conquer every obstacle in your way. This isn't about being positive, it's about being powerful, not softening your emotions, but sharpening them. You ready? Let's begin. Before we learn to use anger as fuel, we have to understand what it really is. Anger is not evil. It's not a flaw in your character. It's a signal, a response from your brain that something feels wrong. It shows up when your values are violated, when your boundaries are disrespected, when you've been overlooked, rejected, or betrayed. In fact, anger is one of the most honest emotions you'll ever experience. It doesn't lie. It doesn't fake a smile. It shows up exactly when something in your world is out of alignment. But here's the problem. Most people have never been taught how to deal with anger, so they either explode or implode. They throw punches or swallow pain. They either burn the room or burn themselves. The key is learning to do neither. Think about it like this. Your anger is like fire. If you let it loose without direction, it will destroy everything. But if you build a furnace around it, It can heat your home. It can cook your meals. It can sustain your life. Let me give you a practical example. There was a young woman named Rachel. She was passed over for a promotion again, not because she wasn't qualified, but because her manager was intimidated by her drive and independence. She was furious. She almost quit on the spot, but instead of reacting emotionally, she went home, sat down, and asked herself, "What exactly am I angry about?" She realized she wasn't just mad at her boss. She was angry at herself for allowing people to overlook her, for not building something of her own. So she made a decision. Within 3 months, she launched a coaching business, teaching assertiveness and leadership for young women in corporate environments. Her first client, one of her old co-workers who had gone through the same thing. Rachel didn't just vent her anger. She used it. She converted it into a vision, a plan, and a mission. That's the first step of shadow mastery, recognizing the signal. The next time you feel angry, don't suppress it. Don't explode. Pause. Ask yourself, what is this anger trying to tell me? Maybe it's saying you're in the wrong job. Maybe it's telling you you're letting others control your narrative. Maybe it's demanding that you finally set a boundary, speak up, or walk away from what no longer serves you. Anger is clarity, if you listen to it. And don't confuse anger with weakness. Some of the most powerful leaders in history were fueled by righteous anger. Nelson Mandela didn't spend 27 years in prison without feeling fury, but he didn't let that fury destroy him. He harnessed it into unshakable purpose. Shadow mastery isn't about pretending you're okay. It's about knowing you're not, and choosing to use that discomfort as leverage. Think of your anger as pressure inside a volcano. If you ignore it, it'll explode one day. But if you understand it, you can tap into the geothermal energy beneath and power an entire city. What if your goals were powered by that same energy? What if the anger you feel every day, on the train, in the meeting, scrolling through social media, dealing with rejection, isn't there to break you, but to build the fire you need to change everything? It's time to stop fearing the flame inside of you. It's time to stop calling it a flaw. That fire is your edge, your weapon, your truth. The sooner you learn to interpret the message behind your anger, the sooner you can stop fighting with yourself and start fighting for your purpose. This is where true transformation begins. Let's go deeper. Now that you understand, anger isn't your enemy, but a signal. Here's the next crucial step. Learning how to respond instead of react. You can't always control what triggers your anger. A disrespectful comment, an unfair decision, a betrayal you never saw coming. Life will throw these sparks at you, whether you're ready or not. But here's the truth. It's not the trigger that defines you. It's your response. Let's talk about a man named Marcus. He was a brilliant software engineer. For years, he'd put in overtime, innovated solutions no one else could figure out, and carried his team on his back. But when it came time for a raise and recognition, they gave it to someone who played office politics better than he did. He was livid. He wanted to walk into the manager's office and explode. He wanted to expose every flaw, every injustice. But he paused. He took a deep breath and asked himself, do I want to win, or do I want to vent? Because here's a reality check. Venting feels good for 5 minutes. Winning feels good for a lifetime. Instead of reacting, Marcus wrote a professional report showcasing all his contributions over the past year. He started documenting every win. He began mentoring junior engineers, building allies, and creating undeniable value. 6 months later, a director from another company headhunted him with a 60% pay raise. Because he didn't react emotionally, he responded strategically. That's the difference between emotion and mastery. When something angers you, You have two options. You can react with impulse and lose control, or you can respond with intelligence and gain leverage. Here's how to build that muscle in real life. 1. Pause before reacting. Anger is fast. Mastery is slow. The moment you feel the fire rise, give yourself space. Step away, breathe, go silent. That silence isn't weakness, it's sharpening your blade. 2. Name the feeling. I'm angry is a start. But go deeper. Are you angry because you feel powerless, disrespected, invisible? The more precise you are, the more control you gain. 3. Ask what you really want, not in that moment, but in the bigger picture. Do you want to prove someone wrong? Build something of your own. Be recognized. Your anger will tell you what matters most, if you listen. 4. Use your anger as intelligence, not fuel for destruction. Let it guide your decisions, but don't let it drive your actions blindly. Strategy beats rage, every time. I want you to remember this mantra. I don't waste fire, I forge with it. When you react, you waste fire. When you respond, you forge tools, weapons, and even empires. Let's go back to that volcano analogy. A volcano that erupts randomly is feared and avoided, but a volcano that is studied, harnessed, and tapped, that's a power source. That's influence. You can be that power source in your career, your relationships, your life, if you learn to delay reaction and choose a response. Shadow mastery is not about suppressing emotions. It's about controlling the direction of their energy. Because in life, the most powerful person in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one who chooses their silence with precision and their words with purpose. So next time someone disrespects you, don't scream, don't break, just pause and plan your rise. Now, let's take it further. You've paused, you've listened, you've refused to explode. But now comes the most powerful move of all. Redirecting your anger into strategic action. This is where most people fail. They stop at feeling angry and never move beyond it. They stew in bitterness, hoping someone else will fix it, recognize them, or give them what they deserve. But here's the truth. Nobody's coming. No one is going to magically hand you success, respect, or justice. If you want something, you need to take that fire and build with it. Let me tell you about a man named Aaron. He grew up in a home filled with chaos, absent father, poverty, and violence. He watched his mom cry every night from exhaustion, never getting the life she deserved. For years, that anger fermented in him. He hated the world, hated the system, hated himself. Until one night, he had a breakdown. He punched a wall and broke his hand. And while sitting in the ER, bandaged and defeated, he realized something. This pain isn't helping me, but it could if I stop using it to destroy myself and start using it to drive me. He left the hospital and made a vow. I will turn this pain into a strategy. He started waking up at 5 a.m. He got certified in digital marketing through free courses. He worked night shifts, then studied during the day. He used his anger as a discipline, as focus, as energy. 5 years later, he runs a 6-figure agency, not because he had it easy, but because he turned his suffering into structure. This is the essence of shadow mastery. You don't wait to feel good. You use the very thing that's tearing you apart to build something that holds you together. So how do you do this? Here's a framework I call the redirection triangle. It's how you turn emotional chaos into productive power. 1. Identify the core wound. What exactly hurt you? Rejection, betrayal, injustice. Be honest. Go deep. Don't sugarcoat it. 2. Clarify the desire beneath it. Every wound hides a desire. If you were rejected, Maybe what you truly crave is belonging. If you were disrespected, perhaps you longed for significance. Find that root to desire. 3. Build a plan that honors that desire. Don't wait for someone to give it to you. Design your life to produce it. Use your goals as a form of revenge, not against others, but against your past self who stayed stuck. This triangle takes raw emotion and carves it into a blade. And yes, it will hurt. Growth always does, but pain with a direction. That's purpose, that's transformation. When you use anger without a plan, you get damage. When you combine anger with a mission, you get dominance. Let's be clear, this is not about toxic positivity. This is not everything happens for a reason. No, some things should make you angry. Some things are unfair. But instead of screaming into the void, why not build a world where you can win? Why not let every scar on your heart become a line in your blueprint? This is how you flip the script. This is how you lead your life, not just survive it. Because in the end, your story isn't defined by the pain you felt. It's defined by what you did with it. Let your anger become your architect. Let it draw the design for a future that no one else can deny. We've talked about listening to your anger, responding instead of reacting, and using pain as strategy. But here's where many people stumble. They get fired up. They channel that rage into a goal. They grind like warriors for a week, maybe 2, and then, boom, they burn out. Why? Because raw energy without a system is a wildfire. It burns bright, but dies fast. Shadow mastery isn't just about ignition, it's about sustainability. You want to use your anger long enough to win, not just to fight. To do that, you need structure. You need a system that channels fire consistently without letting it consume you. Let's talk about what that system looks like. 1. Create a mission statement that anchors your anger. Anger without purpose is dangerous, but anger with purpose, that's power. Write down your anger in a sentence. Then, rewrite it as a mission. Example, I'm angry because I keep getting overlooked. My mission is to build a presence so undeniable that I can never be ignored again. That shift turns your pain into focus. You're no longer fighting the past, you're building the future. Build daily rituals to convert emotion into motion. Emotion without motion is stagnation. Take 10 minutes every morning to reconnect with your mission. Visualize your goals. Feel that fire again. Then move physically and strategically. Aaron, from earlier, his 5 a.m. wake-up wasn't just about discipline. It was his way of tapping back into his WHY every single day. That consistency turned emotion into empire. 3. Use strategic triggers. Normally, triggers make you spiral, but if you choose them wisely, they can fuel your focus. Print out your rejection letter and tape it to your wall. Use your past pain as fuel, not fear. Let it remind you, this is why I show up. Turn every insult into instruction, every you can't into watch me. 4. Track progress, not perfection. Perfectionism kills momentum. Don't let your fire die chasing some imaginary ideal. Focus on consistent wins, daily actions, small gains. Track your fire, track your effort, track your discipline. Shadow mastery is not about dramatic change overnight. It's about relentless motion, day after day, regardless of how you feel. Let me give you an image to carry with you. Imagine you're forging a sword. Every day, you return to the fire. You heat the metal, you hammer it, you cool it, you repeat. That sword is your vision, and your anger. That's the heat. But you don't hold your hand in the fire. You use it. You step close, step back, step forward with intention. That's how you build a life worth living. Not by staying in rage, but by returning to it with purpose. Because the truth is, Rage isn't sustainable, but ritual is. So build yours. Build morning rituals. Build systems that reward effort, not just results. Build habits that reflect your mission, even when motivation disappears. Because there will be days when you don't feel the fire. That's normal. But if your system is strong, the momentum keeps moving, even when your emotions don't. This is what separates emotional warriors from strategic leaders. You don't just fight hard, you fight smart. You don't just burn, you build. And when your anger lives inside a system, it becomes more than just fire. It becomes a forge. Even when you've built a system, created rituals, and have a mission, you'll still face your most dangerous enemy, yourself. Because anger doesn't just come from the outside. Sometimes it comes from the war happening inside your own mind. That quiet voice that says, "You're not good enough. Who do you think you are? You'll never change." That voice can be louder than any critic, any boss, any hater. This is where shadow work begins. It's not just about channeling your anger toward the world. It's about understanding the parts of yourself that are holding you back. Let's talk about self-sabotage. You set a goal, you take the first few steps, and then out of nowhere, you procrastinate. You distract yourself. You self-destruct. Why? Because part of you is still attached to pain. Because failure is familiar. Because success scares you more than struggle ever did. That's right. Many people fear success. Why? Because it forces identity shifts. It makes you responsible for a new standard. It takes away your excuses. But here's the truth. You can't build an empire while still protecting your wounds. At some point, you have to choose. Do you want comfort or conquest? Let me tell you about Dana. She had a dream to start a fitness brand. But every time she got close to launching, she found a way to self-sabotage, miss deadlines, overthink content, compare herself to others. One day, her mentor asked her, "What are you so afraid of succeeding for?" Dana broke down in tears. She realized her anger wasn't just at society or her circumstances. It was at herself, for not believing she was worthy, for carrying shame from childhood trauma, for building walls instead of bridges. That day, Dana started therapy, not because she was weak, but because she was done being at war with herself. She used her anger not to fight others, but to heal herself, to break patterns, to face truths she'd buried. And when she stopped fighting her own growth, her brand exploded. Because self-sabotage isn't a sign of failure, it's a signal. It tells you there's something inside you that still needs your attention. Shadow mastery means turning the mirror inward, looking at the wounds, the shame, the hidden fears, and saying, "I see you, but you don't control me anymore. I'm not here to stay small to protect your comfort." This kind of internal confrontation is harder than any battle you'll fight on the outside, but it's also the one that changes everything. So here's how to deal with the enemies within. 1. Name the saboteur. Give your inner critic a name. Make it separate from you, because it is. It's just a story, an echo of old programming. When you name it, you gain distance from it. 2. Challenge the narrative. When the voice says you'll fail, respond with evidence. Your past wins, your discipline, your new identity. Remind yourself, you are not who you were. You are who you choose to become. 3. Create inner alignment. If your goals contradict your beliefs about yourself, you'll self-sabotage every time. Upgrade your identity. Start saying things like, "I am capable. I am consistent. I am a builder." Say it until your subconscious has no choice but to believe it. You're not just mastering anger, you're mastering identity. Because the version of you that hits the goal is not the same version that started. Transformation always involves death. the death of doubt, of victimhood, of limitation. So let your old self burn, and from those ashes, let the real you rise. Let's talk about the real battlefield now, the world outside your mind. Once you've mastered your emotional response, built internal alignment, and created a system to sustain your fire, it's time to apply that energy strategically in your day-to-day life. This is where anger becomes not just fuel, but leverage. Because let's be honest, life doesn't wait. The world will test you. You'll face rejection, deadlines, conflict, politics, competition. And in those moments, most people fold, but not you, because you've trained with fire. So let's break down how to apply that anger in a way that moves the needle in your career, your business, your relationships, your goals. 1. Use anger to sharpen focus. Anger naturally narrows your attention. It's evolution. But instead of using that tunnel vision to obsess over revenge or rage, aim it like a sniper rifle. You've got a goal. Let the anger block out the distractions. No more scrolling. No more gossip. No more excuses. Say, this fire in my chest, I'm aiming it at that target, and nothing else matters until I hit it. That's how you make 12 hours of progress in 3. 2. Use anger to elevate standards. When you're angry at mediocrity, raise the bar. Use that frustration as evidence that you're meant for more. Redesign your habits. Refuse to tolerate laziness from yourself or anyone else. One client of mine was constantly frustrated by how unproductive her team was. Instead of yelling or quitting, she rebuilt the system. She created new workflows, clarified expectations, and overhauled communication. 3 months later, productivity increased by 47%. Why? Because her anger didn't lead to chaos. It led to clarity. 3. Use anger to fuel courageous conversations. You've been silent long enough. How many opportunities have you lost because you didn't speak up? How many relationships decayed because you avoided conflict? Anger is your signal. It's time to speak. Not yell, not accuse, but stand up. When you feel that heat rising, use it to say what you've been too scared to say. Not to hurt, but to heal, to lead, to free yourself. Example, I feel angry because I haven't been honest. I've allowed things to slide that don't reflect my values. That ends now. That one sentence can shift an entire culture. 4. Use anger as momentum in high-stress moments. When everything's going wrong, your plan fails, people flake, the deadline's crushing. You have 2 choices, panic or power up. Most people panic, but you remember this. This chaos is fuel. I trained for this. Your anger becomes a switch. It flips you into beast mode, not out of rage, but out of readiness. Because you've rehearsed this feeling before, you know what to do with it now. The goal of shadow mastery isn't to avoid the fire, it's to stand in it without burning, and use the heat to mold reality to your will. You become the one who thrives under pressure, the one who turns setbacks into strategy, the one who doesn't crumble, but builds empires from ashes. In business, that means negotiating with power, not passivity. In relationships, it means leading with honesty, not silence. In life, it means choosing transformation over temper. Anger isn't just a response, it's a resource. When you use it consciously, consistently, and with control, it no longer controls you. It becomes your edge, your accelerator, your advantage. So the next time life pushes you to the edge, don't fall, push back. You've come this far. You've learned to control the flame. You've built systems, mastered your triggers, and used your anger to sharpen your focus. your courage, your execution. But there's one final evolution, turning your fire into a legacy. Because Shadow Mastery isn't just about you becoming stronger. It's about what you do with that strength. It's about how you take the power you've earned and use it to shape the world beyond yourself. Here's the truth. If your anger only serves you, it will eventually consume you. But if your anger fuels something bigger than you, it will elevate you. Let me share a story. There was a man named Luis, grew up in a broken home, abandoned by his father, bounced through the foster system. He was angry, furious at the world, at his past, at himself. He spent years in survival mode, climbing the ladder of success fueled by rage. He made money, built a name, got respect, but something was missing, because deep down the anger never really left. Until one day he visited a shelter for boys in the same system he came from. One of the kids asked him, "Do you think someone like me could ever be like you?" That question cracked him open. He realized he hadn't just survived for himself, he'd survived for them. That day he launched a program that mentors boys in foster care, helping them build confidence, purpose, and career paths. Today, Luis doesn't just build businesses, he builds leaders. His fire became a force for others. That's the ultimate stage of Shadow Mastery. When your pain becomes provision, when your anger becomes a lighthouse, when your scars become a roadmap for others still bleeding. So I ask you, what will you do with your fire? Will you let it end with you, burning in your chest, fading with your wins? Or will you build something so powerful that it outlives your lifetime? Here are 3 ways to channel your anger beyond yourself. 1. Teach what you've mastered. If you've turned anger into achievement, someone out there needs your story. Don't hoard the wisdom. Start a blog, a YouTube channel, a mentorship circle. Share how you turned chaos into clarity. Let your voice be the bridge for someone stuck where you once were. 2. Build systems that serve others. Anger is most powerful when it creates infrastructure. Start initiatives, design platforms, write books, launch programs. Put your fire into things that will serve others, even when you're no longer there. When you build systems, your energy lives on. 3. Use your influence to shift culture, whether in your family, your company, your community. You have reach. Use your story to change conversations, to promote strength with empathy, discipline with compassion, resilience with humanity. Because when anger is used for something greater than revenge, it becomes unstoppable. You've walked through the fire. You've transformed it into focus, structure, discipline, and strategy. Now it's time to pass the torch, because the greatest revenge is not just success, it's significance. Not just rising above your enemies, but lifting others out of the same darkness you once knew. That's the legacy fire builds, not in how loud you scream, but in how many lives you light. So here we are. You've walked through every stage, from pain to purpose, from reaction to redirection, from chaos to strategy, from survival to legacy. And now, there's only one thing left to say. This is your fire. Own it. No one else can do this for you. No one can hand you power. No one can give you purpose. You were forged in fire, and what tried to destroy you has defined you. Your anger is not weakness. It's not immaturity. It's not something to calm down or hide. It's a message. It's a compass. It's energy. And when you master it, you stop playing defense. You start playing offense. You stop reacting to life and start creating it. Because, let's be honest, the world isn't fair. People will underestimate you. You'll be ignored, insulted, betrayed. And that's okay, because you don't need fair. You need fire. You need focus. You need to stop asking for permission and start taking responsibility. You already have everything you need. The pain, that's the proof. The rage, that's the rocket fuel. The scars, that's the map. Now it's time to act. Here's your call to action. Write down your anger today. What still burns? What still hurts? Turn it into a mission, a project, a pursuit. Build a ritual around it. Reconnect with it every day. Not to stay in the pain, but to remember the purpose. Use it to level up your body, your mind, your career, your life. Teach it, share it, transform others with the wisdom your wounds have taught you. And when the world asks you, how did you do it? Don't just say, I worked hard. Say, I used my darkness. I used my rage. I built my legacy in silence. And now you're standing in its shadow. Because true power doesn't always scream. It builds. And now you're the builder. So if you take nothing else from this talk, remember this: your anger was never a curse. It was always a calling, not to destroy, but to define, not to explode, but to evolve, not to burn the world, but to forge your own, and light the way for others. This is shadow mastery, not the absence of darkness, but the use of it. The strategic weaponization of your pain for impact, influence, and ultimate fulfillment. You're not broken. You're becoming. So go now. Let the world underestimate you. Let them laugh, doubt, forget. Just smile and keep building in silence. Because when the fire inside you is aligned, the world outside you doesn't stand a chance.